You've seen the before and after pictures, you've read the articles, you've seen the social media posts about how people have used intermittent fasting to transform both their appearance in the mirror, but also their overall health, how they've used it to stop taking prescription medication and to basically free themselves from the shackles of constantly having to eat every 2 to 4 hours. In this video, I'm going to reassure you about intermittent fasting and also give you some basic tips on how you can do intermittent fasting, how you can wrap your head around the concept, how you don't suffer. Because if you've never fasted before, in your mind, you imagine it's going to be pure suffer and deprivation, and that's just not true at all. I'm going to give you some tips in this video about how to make intermittent fasting much, much easier, how to get started. Intermittent fasting is very, very natural. All human societies have been intermittent fasters. It was actually more weird in the past not to be someone who practiced fasting than to be someone who fasted regularly. So it's very, very natural. It's not at all weird or unnatural. It's very safe. There's tons of research supporting all the benefits of intermittent fasting and all the goals that you can hope to accomplish by intermittent fasting on a daily basis. Fasting is very, very powerful. I've actually got an entire playlist devoted to the things that intermittent fasting can do to improve your health. It's going to pop up right here, and you can watch that video after this and find out all the benefits you can expect from intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting works with any way of eating. You can derive benefits from intermittent fasting even if you're still eating a junky standard American diet. But you're going to reap the most benefits if you marry intermittent fasting with a low carbohydrate diet, a ketogenic diet, or a carnivore diet. Science has shown that every time you share this video, you take $1 out of the pockets of big food and big pharma and you give it to your friend. So share this video. People who don't need to intermittent fast are the following. If you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, if you're currently under your ideal body weight, or if you're under the age of 16, you probably don't need to get carried away with intermittent fasting right now. If you are a type 1 diabetic or a type 2 diabetic currently on insulin injections, then you're going to work with your doctor to implement intermittent fasting into your life. Now let's talk about some tips that are going to help you really effortlessly make intermittent fasting a part of your daily ritual. First and foremost, you're going to always have some liquid handy to sip on. Now, I'm not talking about drinking your body weight in ounces of water every day. I'm talking about just having some ice water, either still or mineral water. Sparkling water's fine. You can also sip on unsweetened tea or black coffee. Definitely you're going to be getting some hydration from this, but the main goal is to give your hands and your mouth something to do so you're not thinking about stuffing food in your face. Another great tip that works for many, many people is to have some real salt on hand and put a pinch of salt on your tongue when you're starting to feel hungry. If you really want to have a conversation starter, then you can get a salt rock. I've got a link down in the show notes below. You can keep this in your pocket and lick on it whenever you're starting to feel some hunger pains. For some reason, having a pinch of salt or a lick of your salt rock makes the hunger pains go away for a great many people. It's important to keep in mind that hunger comes in waves, okay? It comes and it goes. If you've never fasted before, your fear is that the hunger is going to come and keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until you die. And that's not actually how the hunger hormones work. You'll have a hunger pang and it'll come. Then a few minutes later, if you haven't eaten, then the hunger pain is going to go away. It seems like the salt trick and sipping on the fluids makes the hunger pangs go away quicker for most people. Another thing to keep in mind is that many people's cravings are actually because of a mineral deficiency. And much of the food that we have in modern society is deficient in this mineral or that mineral. So a lot of people find that using a mineral supplement on a daily basis, just first and foremost, helps cravings go away. They don't crave those crazy foods anymore because now they have enough minerals. So if you find that you're having lots of cravings that don't go away, it may be a mineral deficiency. Next is, if you have a bad day when you're fasting. So if you just say, dang it, I didn't fast, I ate, that's okay. You got to understand that eating is natural and part of nature and just part of who you are. Fasting is also natural. And so some days you won't feel like fasting, and that's perfectly fine. You should never think of fasting as punishment or as deprivation. Just because you ate like crap yesterday, I'm going to fast today and make up for it. That's kind of the wrong mental strategy to have. Fasting is a gift. It's not a punishment. Use fasting as a powerful tool to improve your health, not as a punishment if you were a naughty one yesterday. In my experience and from thousands of messages I receive on social media, it seems like the most effortless way to get started with intermittent fasting is to use the tack-on method of daily intermittent fasting. So here's how you think of it in a nutshell. You already sleep for 6 to 8 hours a day. You're not eating during that time, so you're already fasting, right? And so what you're going to do is when you wake up, you're going to tack on 1 hour to your fast before you break it. And then before you go to bed, you're going to start your fast by tacking on an extra fasting hour before bedtime. So now you're doing a 10-hour fast. After a few days of that, you can tack on another hour at the beginning and end. Now you're doing a 12-hour fast. So as the days and weeks go by, you're going to keep tacking on an extra hour at the beginning and at the end of your fasting cycle. And before long, you're going to be fasting for 16, 17, or 18 hours each and every day. It's going to be very effortless as you ramp this up, using your tricks of sipping on fluids and having salt handy all the time and making sure that you've got all your minerals on board. It's going to be very easy to slowly ramp this up until soon you're doing a very impressive 18-hour daily intermittent fast. When you're in your fasting window, it's very important to either be asleep, right? Because then you're not suffering from hunger, but also when the hunger pangs start to come, and they will, and that's okay, that's normal. But you're going to stay busy. You're going to find a hobby. You're going to go for a walk. You're going to do some activities in the bedroom. A great activity would be to read the best intermittent fasting book in the world, written by Dr. Jason Fung. I'm going to put a link down in the show notes below. You can listen to this on Audible as you're taking your walk so that you don't give in to that temporary hunger pang and mess up your fast. Another great strategy is to do this intermittent fasting journey with a buddy. This buddy can either be in person in real life, or this can be a buddy online in a Facebook fasting group or somewhere else that you find someone who's interested in fasting. It's very common to have much better success when doing this with a buddy, because odds are your buddy's hunger pangs and your hunger pangs are not going to hit at the same time. So when you're feeling a little weak, your buddy can support you, and vice versa. That way you guys can do this together, grow as friends, and be much more successful with your intermittent fasting. The final tip is to stay out of the kitchen. Make sure that you don't have any little snacks stashed in your car, at work, or any other room of the house. The kitchen is the place where food should be. And that way you can stay out of the kitchen, especially when a hunger pang starts to strike. That's going to help you be much more successful. Now, if you're still eating the standard American diet or a very high carbohydrate diet, you're going to find it much, much harder to extend your intermittent fast each day. That's why I'm such a huge advocate of a low-carb, ketogenic, carnivore way of eating, is because the healthy proteins and the healthy fats in these diets are much more satiating. They keep you feeling full for many hours longer than a high carbohydrate diet does. And so if you're not already eating a low carb diet like this, you really need to watch some of my YouTube videos about keto and carnivore, or even ketovore right in the middle between them, because that's going to make it much easier for you to fast for longer periods of time each day. If you've already been experimenting with intermittent fasting and you found a tip or trick or a hack that really helps you extend your fast, please put it in the comments down below. I find that people learn lots of stuff reading my comments and interacting with each other, which you're always free to do. I've included a link down in the show notes to my intermittent fasting playlist. After you've watched those videos, you'll be one of the smartest people in the entire world when it comes to intermittent fasting. If you already haven't done so, please click that subscribe button and the thumb on your way out. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.